Welcome back. In this video, we'll talk about macrovascular complications that can be associated with diabetes. So in the last one, we talked about microvascular complications. Basically, the difference for macrovascular, basically the damage is done to bigger blood vessels in your body. So compared to microvascular, which is in the smaller vessels, like I said, in the eyes, it can occur, it can damage the kidneys, it can even damage the nerves. But for macrovascular, it's a little bit more in bigger system in your body, so it can cause things like heart attack, stroke, heart failure. So it's going to affect some of those kind of bigger blood vessels. Again, same thing as the last time. If your blood sugars are well controlled, if they're in target, you got to run a lot more or less risk of getting any kind of complications. Basically, complications can happen if your blood sugars run high for a really long period of time. So if your blood sugars are well controlled, less chances of getting any kind of complications with that. To limit any complications for macrovascular, and I guess for microvascular as well, you can help yourself a little bit by managing your blood sugars. So if you're testing your blood sugars, making sure they're in target, getting regular blood work every 3 to 6 months for depending on what you need. Everybody's a little bit different. Making sure your cholesterol is in level too, especially for any kind of heart complication, any heart disease. The blood pressure too, making sure your blood pressure is in target for anybody living with diabetes. And then different medications can help and protect different organs like the heart. It can help to protect the kidneys and things like that. Exercise can be a really big factor in limiting complications too. And then stress will impact complications as well. And if you are somebody that's stressed a lot, things like that, it can bring a little bit more complications. And smoking as well. Smoking can cause different heart disease, like heart complications, heart disease. Same thing with diabetes. So both of them combined are usually, it can make those complications a little bit more worse, or it might bring complications a little bit more easily as well. So if you look at this document here, it talks about different things to be aware of, different things that you can kind of look at to make sure that you limit any kind of risk of microvascular complication and macrovascular complications. So the first one, A, is the A1C. So if your A1C is in target, so like I said in previous video, if you can get your A1C under 7, that's the goal for most people. Some people, the target is going to be a little bit different, but that's the goal for most people. So that's really helpful to kind of prevent any complications down the road. Like I mentioned earlier, blood pressure too. So if you take your blood pressure at home, the target is 130/80. For most people, you might have a different target, again, if you talk with your healthcare provider, but if you have your blood pressure in target, it limits any kind of risk of things like heart attack or stroke, any complications. Cholesterol is also a really, really big part of this. So if you can make sure that your cholesterol is tested, some people will have it tested every 6 months, some people will have it tested every year, but just to make sure everything is in target to prevent any heart disease that might be caused from elevated cholesterol. Medications do play a role, so even speaking with your healthcare team to make sure if there are any kind of medications that can help you protect against heart attack, against stroke, seeing if you're on the right medication for yourself, so making sure you speak with your healthcare provider team. Exercise also a really big part, so even increasing your physical activity slightly can help to prevent any kind of complications. And healthy eating, any kind of lifestyle changes like that, so with exercise or healthy eating, they can both kind of prevent or limit any complications down the road. Different tests that I talked about in this video and in the last video too. So making sure that you're getting a yearly foot exam to make sure that there's nothing going on, that you're not losing sensation, and to see if there's anything you can do. Same thing with your kidneys, just to make sure that yearly they are tested with a blood or a urine test. You can do it more often if it's required. And getting the yearly eye exams too, just to make sure everything is going fine with your eyes, and to see, or just to catch any kind of little changes early on. Like I just mentioned, stress, really big part of it too, but stopping smoking, it might be one of the best things that you can do for your general health. And it is also a really good idea, especially if you are living with diabetes.